Hello, 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 and welcome to Livestream Happy Hour. I am your host, Eric Raymond, and today we are so very fortunate to bring the incredibly talented, most wonderful human in the entire world, filled with positivity and joy and all the things that are good, as well as our first guest that we ever had on the Happy Hour, Cullen Vance. Hi!
Oh my gosh, what an introduction.
I do my best.
Thank you so much. Wow, yeah. I'm excited to meet me.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. This is a 1-year anniversary of the live stream Happy Hour. Cullen was our very first guest about a year ago, exactly a year ago this week. Started the live stream Happy Hour, and so it's so exciting to be able to have him back and to be able to carry on this tradition of a live stream Happy Hour that has brought so many awesome artists to the screen. So I'll start with my quick introductions and we'll jump right on into it. So the live stream started, like I said, a year ago now when the pandemic had first broken out, in order for us to be able to make up for the gap in our in-person programming we were able to do as an arts community, to bring artists to you as our community, to get them connected, and also connect you with our artists. So we have gotten to hear from visual artists, performance artists, musical artists, literary artists, producers, and bloggers, all the different things kind of in between. So it's been really fun to be able to bring those to you and to be able to make them connected to new audiences. And also, always at the plug at the beginning, if you know a really awesome artist in Lane County who hasn't been featured on the Happy Hour and you think would be great on this, please email us at lanearts@lanearts.org. Again, that's lanearts@lanearts.org. Let us know who that artist's name is and some contact information. We'll reach out to them and see if they want to be on the Happy Hour. This is also a really great opportunity to remind you of the importance of arts communities and civil rights organizations in our community. And this has been a tough year for so many groups and so many organizations. And so I would like to remind you and encourage you to please make a contribution to an arts organization or a civil rights group that you care deeply about, so that they can continue to meet their mission of supporting our community and recognizing ourselves and recognizing each other. And we know that people who contribute to one organization often contribute to multiple organizations. So after you give to that arts organization, go to another one that you love and make a contribution there as well. It takes all of us coming together to make it possible. Lane Arts might be one of those people you contribute to, but if not, thank you for contributing wherever you do contribute. So enough with all of those spiel things at the very top. Let's check in and hear how you're doing, Cullen. Tell us about your past year. What have you been up to? What's new, man?
Well, first of all, let's just take a moment and say, like, wow, it has been a year. Just take a deep breath with that, because, and that's exactly what I've been doing. This has been the shortest and the longest year of my entire life. And it's also been one of the most extreme and exciting. But okay, so last year, I think I was working on a new album that I was hoping to be putting out soon. I had performed on here as well, doing some live looping stuff. Just before quarantine and before all of this kind of let loose, I was a performing artist. That is exactly what I did. I was performing all the time, nonstop. I was doing lots of live looping stuff. And because of everything that had happened, I had to kind of redefine my art, redefine myself. I tried to do the live looping stuff online and through live streams, and it just wasn't jiving. It just wasn't the same, of course. It was like, what do I do? And strangely enough, it was TikTok. I found myself on TikTok as one, I think, does. You just find yourself on TikTok one day. Fell in love with the community, well, the different kinds of
Mhm.
communities that are on that platform. And since then, I believe I've released 2 full albums, or 1 full album, 1 EP, a bunch of singles. And then something like, I don't even know how many. I think there's over 30 or 40 TikToks, which all take an amazing
Wow.
amount of time.
Mhm.
The YouTube viewership has gone up through the roof. I've collaborated with people around the world. Tons of things have been happening. It has just been, for a year spent indoors, it has been one of the most connected in my career. I've felt the most connected that I've ever felt, as far as my music finally reaching people, and them getting to reach me, which is kind of what it's all about. So that is just in a nutshell, on the surface level, this last year for me.
Amazing. That's so amazing and so inspiring to hear how some of the limitations this year actually open doors. And that's been a common theme that I've been hearing in a few different organizations and different artists, that while this year was definitely this huge shift that happened for them, there were discoveries made along the way. I
Oh yeah.
think about this on the happy hour. I started doing watercolor, and for me, that like opened up a whole new pathway of expression. And I've heard from other artists that shifted their practice from maybe ceramics to like ink painting, or suddenly started opening up this new pathway of what does collaboration look like in this kind of environment, or building a recording studio in a basement, and then suddenly we got this like cool space that's happening. So to see how doors are opening up for people is really exciting, because it has been a trying year, and there has been so much innovation that's also happened this year, and so much discovery. And that's not to dismiss those who are still continuing to feel that struggle that so many of us were feeling at the beginning of the pandemic. That's real,
Oh
and
yeah.
every a different trajectory and journey through this. But to hear some of these stories of kind of that persistence is really exciting to hear, and inspiration. So let's check
Yeah.
out TikToks. So which one should I pull up, Cullen? You direct me.
Well, I'll kind of talk a little bit about how I like got into it. So at the around this time last year, I had put out Cullen Volume 2. And
Mhm.
this, I'm going to speak very frankly, it did not do very well. It didn't reach the people I was hoping it was going to reach. And I was very proud, and still am proud of what I had put together, but it just didn't resonate, and it didn't
Mhm.
connect. And that happens in any art form. You're going to be making stuff, and it's always a gamble of how it might impact. And as I was kind of wrestling with that disappointment, I started a TikTok channel. I didn't tell anyone about it, none of my friends or family or anyone. My wife knew. And I was like, I'm just going to post the same stuff. It's nothing new, the same stuff that I've been doing. Um, Really, I think the first stuff I posted was like 2 years old, stuff I had made for
Mhm.
Instagram, things I was just, whatever. I didn't even look like
Mhm.
that anymore. My hair was shorter and all of that. Um, and the videos that I posted on Instagram that I think at the time got, 50 views, maybe 20 likes, I posted on TikTok, and they were getting 300 likes, and 3,000 views. I was like, whoa, 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 that's pretty cool. And
Mhm.
then I posted another thing that I was just a silly joke. It's like a SpongeBob type type situation, a little joke meme that I did, and it got something like 100,000 views. Like, whoa! And people were just like, "Whoa, you're amazing! Keep going, keep going!" And I was like, "Where is this coming from?" After years and years of posting things and feeling like, and I know every artist that's working today, that's making stuff today, knows this feeling. You make something, you love it, you put it into the cyberverse, and then it just gets sucked into the void, and you're like, did
Mhm.
it even happen? And we're creative people, so we keep going, but it's also
Mhm.
very disappointing. And I had gotten very used to that feeling of, and it's gone.
Mhm.
So to like put stuff out there and then find old stuff that I had considered failures from back in the day, or at least didn't connect, were connecting. It was just
Yeah.
needed a different platform, and a different audience, that knew who SpongeBob was, or cared, or who knows. So anyway, so getting to the next thing, I started doing little remixes of things. I would take really happy songs and make them sad. I'd take really sad songs and make them happy.
Mhm.
Well, my wife and I, we have Irish heritage. You can see I'm surrounded by Irish instruments and knots and things like that. It's a very important part of our identity and our story. She writes poetry. Mia Vance is her name. She writes poetry. And we're both studying Irish, the language, Irish Gaelic. And so we were
Mhm.
listening to this song that had gone viral. This is last summer. It's the one I would love for you to play is the Chicken Wing song. And
Oh
it's this
yeah.
song chicken wing, chicken wing. I don't even remember how it goes. Hot dog and bologna, chicken and macaroni, chilling with my homies. And it's so silly. It's so happy. And in contrast to everything that was going on, the wildfires, like it was a ridiculous amount of positivity in a very trying time. And something about the absurdity of how carefree that thing was made me so happy. I said, how can I make this even more carefree? How can I put this to the next level of adorable? And I think it was Mia that was like, don't we know most of those words in Irish just from like Duolingo? And we're like, let's do it. So she helped me in a big way to translate that. And so we were like, let's make an Irish version of Chicken Wing. So yeah, we can watch that one if you've got it.
Yeah, let's check it out. And
And that's that.
still fun.
And so the way that TikTok works is that it has to be less than 1 minute. It's in profile instead of landscape like we're used to seeing. And it loops. If you get it just right, it can loop perfectly and go on forever. So I arranged that in such a way that it could just go on, and it does forever and ever. I posted that thinking maybe it'll, I was like, who's gonna get it though? Like, I don't know. I don't think I have any connection to the Irish speaking community in Ireland. Who's gonna actually get this? Turns out tons. I think it got 100,000 views in its first like 6 hours or something like that. And
Wow.
then that combined with its other video, because I did another version of it, I think it's like upwards of 300,000 views. I mean, hundreds and if not thousands of comments of people being like, yes, I actually, all of these people that are trying to connect with their own heritage are trying to learn Irish, but it is a difficult language. So the fact
Mhm.
that they're seeing something, they're like, I know these words because it's so simple, made them feel like they really connected with it. And that was like launched a whole thing. There was this feeling of like, oh, when Mia and I made it, we were just like, this is so personal. Like, this is so personal. No one is going to relate to this. And then that's the thing that's connected.
Isn't that like the true artist lesson to learn though? Is like you always want to speak to others, and the second you speak from the self, everyone's like, that's it. That's the thing I've been looking for. That's me. And that happens so much in like poetry, I know, and music and storytelling, theater, all those things that when so I don't know, I've gone through that as an artist where I've been like, I have to write the thing that people will relate to. I have to tell the story people will get. And
Right.
then I'm like, you know what? Just tell what I know. Like people are like, oh, that's me. And you're like, wait, but that's me. It's us.
It's
Right.
us. It's true. And I think it also comes from it depends on what part you're coming from as well. Because you can come from a very and though it depends on your genre too, you might if you're doing metal music, then yeah, channel that really angry place. But I found that the things that you're like, oh no, this is way too close to my heart. There's no way anyone else is going to get this. That's the stuff that people are like, someone said it. Finally, this is the thing. And it was that just launched a whole thing. So what I've been doing for the last year is trying to get people excited about traditional folk music, specifically Celtic and Irish music, by using, any means necessary at this point. I've done covers of Never Gonna Give You Up, of Britney Spears, of WAP. We did WAP. I say we, but yeah, my wife and I my wife has been helping me a lot in the translation and also everything that I make, I show in front of her. And how many times she's been like, hey, maybe try this. And it's been the magic element. So it has been a whirlwind of a year. And it's also made me kind of really explore my own Irish ancestry as well, and really get to own it in a really beautiful way. To be honest,
Yeah.
it's meant a lot.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about like what draws you to Celtic and a little bit more in that. I do want to jump into one of those covers that you did because there's a really great question that came from the audience I want to pull up. So I'm
Okay.
going to my favorite cover to share, which this is one that when you made it, I was literally like, this is like the song. And I went on a whole trip. I was like, still, it's been months later and I'm still listening to Venga Boys on repeat. So let's go and pull up Boom Boom Boom.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Apologies for a little bit of the delays. My computer's struggling a tiny bit today. But
Yeah.
this actually leads to a really great question that came in from Cameron Jackson in the audience. Cullen's gotten some attention from the folks that he's covered music from. Does he have a favorite so far that's commented and shared?
Yeah, I did have the Venga Boys reach out, which was, I mean, surreal. Like, to be a kid growing up in the 90s and listening to their music and knowing that one day they'll send me a direct message that's like, hey, that's really beautiful what you did, and go ahead and cover it. And they didn't like explicitly give me permission, but they were like, go and do the whole thing, which was really great. So that got a huge amount of coverage and connection, and it was just so good. I mean, the comments that came in were overwhelmingly positive. Also growing up along with YouTube as it grew up, the rule was never read the comments, right? That was the rule. TikTok, those comments, that comment section is alive and interesting, and people bring up things and they tell stories and they say, "Ooh, this reminds me of an original character of my novel," and they'll tell you about it. And it's just like the inspiration that can come back and forth from the audience is unlike anything I've experienced, even performing live. It's almost like you're performing live and the audience is talking to you in your ear as you're performing, giving like real-time feedback, which sounds like it would be horrible, but it's very encouraging. As it stands right now, TikTok, at least on the folk talk and shanty talk side, is very, very positive and encouraging, and just everyone wants each other to make the best things they can make.
Yeah. Well, I want to take a second and shift a little bit in thinking about kind of some of this positive elements that you're kind of sitting within. I know that also the shadow side of that is that you've been talking about the clicks that got you the attention. So I wonder if we can maybe dive into this a little bit and talk about click count starts to become really important. So in that process, in this trajectory of kind of going from kind of being like, oops, I have 100,000 people who like this thing that I never thought anyone would care about, to a really consistent following and actually a lot of dialogue that started coming up internationally with your stuff. Tell me about how you work through that click count kind of pressure, and how do you stay true to you in that process?
Yeah, I'll be honest. It has been a journey. Because I mean, I think it'll only help if I'm very honest about this way through. Having gone through years of my Spotify being in the low tens, you get used to that and you start creating from a place. It's just it hits you knowing, because there is something in human nature where you want to be seen, and that is a beautiful thing. To want to connect, that is a beautiful thing. And I think a lot of people kind of grow up with this idea of guilt around that feeling, like, oh, who am I to want to be seen? But no, you have beautiful things to say. So there's that tension between I want to be seen, but I feel like maybe I shouldn't be seen, or maybe I'm not good enough. And then you post things out and it becomes, a confirmation that, oh, no one's listening, when really it could just be the platform. It might have nothing to do with you and your work. I say that because I told myself that I was not the type of person that if one of my things kind of took off and I got a bunch of comments and things like that, that I wouldn't be the person that would go, oh, this is it. This is the thing. Oh, yeah. I know that is exactly what happened. Because we need to, okay, if we're going to talk about it, we're going to be honest, because this is what I think artists need to hear right now, is that the dopamine levels of seeing 99 plus notifications, that is a very real thing. However, TikTok, if you take that part too seriously, as maybe I did, will break you. Like, it will break your heart. Because the thing that you work so much on, even after you're like, okay, I've got 50,000, 70, 80,000 followers, surely I must be in a good place to like do the things that I've been doing and keep going, and I don't have to worry about it. You'll put so many hours, so much work into one video, post it out there, and it'll just nothing. You're like, oh, and then of course all that stuff of like, oh no, maybe I'm a one-hit wonder, and it's boom, 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 and but okay. So I want to. There's a study that I brought up in a game design course that I did recently, and I would love to talk about, because I think it brings it into focus exactly the problem with this count and how much we give to it. So there was a study done in, I believe it was 1978. And what they do is they took fairly young children. I believe they were between like 3 and 4. I mean, they were pretty young. 2 groups of children. One, they were asked to draw pictures. They were given paper and crayons. One group was just asked to draw pictures, and the other group was paid a quarter or however much money per picture that they drew. Now, if you think that's enough, right, as far as external motivation goes, then you would think that the group that's getting paid made better and more pictures, which is only half right. That group made more pictures, but they were not very interesting. They were hastily done. When they were looking at them later, there was a definite quality difference between the two groups. But that isn't the most important thing, in my opinion. The most important thing about that study was, after the thing was done, the experimenter scientists would leaving the kids on their own for a little bit. The group that was unpaid kept drawing, because they're kids and there's paper and crayons, so they kept drawing. But the group that was wait, did I say that right? The group that wasn't paid kept drawing. The group that was paid stopped. Wouldn't draw anything else until the people came back to give them a quarter. So just change out the scientists with TikTok and change the quarter for hits or views or clicks or comments or whatever, right? Because you ask yourself, who wins? Like, who's having the better experience in that time? And in my opinion, it's the kids that keep drawing, because it's coming from an intrinsic place. Now, I'm not saying you should work for free. Like, that's not at all. But I am saying that you need to, and I'm talking to myself here because I'm still figuring it out. If you can create content from a place where even when the grown-ups leave the room, you will still keep making the same stuff, then you're in a right spot, because then you'll keep going even after TikTok. Vine didn't last either. Vine is ancient history now. Even after TikTok comes and gone, that you will still have your art and you will still keep going. That is not an easy thing to do, because we care about our art and we want it to connect. However, if you're the other team and you're only doing it for the views or the quarters or whatever, it's going to stop. Those quarters are going, there's going to be dry times as tons of creators on TikTok have like rage quit in the last month or two because TikTok has changed a lot of how it's doing things. And you're seeing the same thing over and over. The people who are sticking through, even if they have 10 videos in a row that just no one, even their followers, don't even get to see because the algorithm doesn't care about it, that they'll eventually get right back up to where they were and then keep going and shoot right towards the stars. And the people that were using the views as a metric for their, this is going to sound harsh, but it's true, for the worth of themselves or their art are the ones that can't make it.
Yeah.
Or at least get completely burned out. And that's a hard place to be. So that was a lot. I've had a lot of thoughts about this.
Well, it was a very strategic question. So
there you go.
Well, also, you gave some really great wisdom there that I think, especially a lot of young people who are coming up in the world of art are thinking about, right? Because social media is ingrained into our society, into our systems. And a lot of young people, especially, have grown up in the social media web, right? And I guess just to add on to it, in additional, I guess, insight, Michelle asked a question, great question. She still shares your work with her students. Michelle, also miss you, Michelle. Hope you're well. What would you tell young students who want to be known or seen for their music, or maybe that wish that's, or what you wish somebody had told you, perhaps?
Yeah, I think in what I had just discussed kind of comes into that. But I think the artists that I love to follow their journey, to listen to everything that they do, I find that the best type of art is when you feel like you're eavesdropping on a very important conversation that someone's having with themselves. So that's what I think I would tell someone who wants to be known or seen for their music, is that you want to make stuff that feels like when someone listens to it, there's a part of them that's like, should I be, am I allowed? I have to know what happens next. Because that kind of honesty and self-exploration, but also in a very open and loving way, makes the best art, I think, in my opinion. If I had a little bit more time, I think I could give a better answer to that, because I think that is an important question. I think another aspect to that is the getting rid of the guilt side of it. Because I think there's, I saw this wonderful thing lately that said, can we, instead of saying attention-seeking behavior, can we rename it connection-seeking behavior? And I think there is a paradigm in our society to punish children for attention-seeking behavior. If we can, and of course we need to get things done. We can't always give them 100% of the spotlight all the time. And we don't need to shut that down in their psyche, so that one day when they do have a beautiful gift that they've worked and crafted on to give, that they don't feel guilty for wanting to share it with people.
I love that. True words for young folks and for all of us adult folks too. We are allowed to seek connection, right? That is a real thing that I think has been really felt this past year, that I think sometimes we took for granted, is where we got connection in some of these micro interactions. And this has been a year where we've recognized that we should start engaging in more deep connection seeking habits. Or what can we do to support ourselves in that and support each other? Also, we're about to go into a year of awkward social interactions because nobody knows how to interact with anyone anymore. So seeking habits, let's activate those together.
I love it. You know what? I'm excited for it too, because exactly what you just said. I think people have figured out that, like, oh, wait a second, we really do need connection. And we honestly weren't getting enough beforehand. I saw this wonderful post from a friend lately that said, heads up, everyone, small talk is canceled. From now on, we're starting every conversation with, what do you think is holding you back from achieving your dreams?
Yeah, because that's so much easier to answer than how are you, which is difficult to answer.
And in my personal, like in my world, it's the same answer. Like it's the same question, basically.
Yeah. 100%. Well, let's jump into and watch another one of your TikToks. Maybe one of them that is kind of hones into that Celtic side that you love to explore. What is one that you think really hones in that?
Well, the next one after those that really kind of connected people and really like connected with people Maybe can you play the Concerning Hobbits one? Oh no, Fireflies. Do Fireflies.
Fireflies.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give my computer a second to load it up. And then I'll do that.
Your poor computer. I'm sure it's doing like 18 things right now.
Yeah, it's living its best life, like all of us. It's multi. Yeah. All right. See you in a second.
So I had a reason
that
that actually connects to what we were just talking about really well. So what's funny is that, you know, behind all of these, everyone experiences art in their own way, depending on what they're going through when they hear it, right, for that first time. But of course, it's what we're feeling. Oh yeah, Mia's here and Tara, yay! But of course, there's stories behind the music. You know, the MTV behind the music kind of thing. That at that point when I made Fireflies, I was almost ready to give up on TikTok, which I don't think you'd be able to tell from the work, right? I had posted some other things and they had done well, and then I went into that slump. And I had absolutely, though I want you to know I was working really hard to not, but I had got the hooks of TikTok got right into my skin. And oh, that's a terrible image. Sorry. And videos weren't doing well. Videos that I put my heart and soul into, videos that I was like, oh, this is good stuff. Why isn't it connecting? And who knows why? It might have just been the algorithm. It might have been who knows. But at that point, I was like, I'm just about done. And then someone commented, Fireflies from Owl City, please. And I was like, how would that sound? I was like, oh, like a 3/4, like a 6/8 kind of situation. It's kind of perfect. And there was a part of me that was like, but it's not gonna, like, it's not worth, is all worth the time? And then there was a little part of my heart that was like, who cares? Just do it. Just do it. And so I put it together. It only took like an afternoon, like a couple of hours, and then I recorded it, put it all together, slapped it all together, threw it up there. And I was like, okay, there it is. It out there. And I was like ready. I was like, okay, TikTok, ignore me. I'm ready. And then whoosh, it went straight up through. It got shared on multiple things. Got comments from some of my favorite TikTok creators were commenting on it. I was like, oh my gosh, I've seen everything this person's done. And they're like, I love this song. I was like, this is weird. And I was able to release Boom 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 and Fireflies as a full single, which brought my Spotify numbers up too, which was just fantastic. And that has really been the pattern, is that I get to a point where I'm just about ready to be done with this stuff, and then I'll do something that I'm like, this isn't gonna work, but I had fun with it. Whoosh, and it goes up through. And I think after a year of playing this horrible game with TikTok, I'm just about at a point where I've reached, I don't know, a semi-zen state with TikTok, where those numbers, they're fine. And also, as long as, you know, my close friends get to see them and they respond, and that's all I ever really wanted in the first place too. But yeah, I wanted to share that because I think people, you know, you listen to people's work, but you don't hear what was going on or how close someone might have been to like moving on before that. We only hear the success stories or what ends up on the Wikipedia page. I think it's important to hear that stuff.
Yeah. And also Fireflies by Owl City. Who would have thought?
Yeah, still
That just goes across generations, apparently.
It's an instant classic. Who knew?
Yeah. Well, and you're bringing up the fact that somebody commented and requested that one. Tara brought up a really great question in thinking about this flow of social media, and those large waves of connection, comments, and requests that do they ever become overwhelming? And how do you handle that level of digital interaction, especially as a solo artist?
They become very overwhelming. in many different ways. I am an independent solo artist, and so if anything gets answered, I don't have a team of people that's going to answer them for me. And so having to kind of filter all that things through, and knowing, when you get a video like Fireflies or Boom Boom Boom, or this other one My Mother Told Me, which we'll talk about in a second, I'm sure. It gets so many you'll never get to respond to all of them, or even the most important ones, the ones that I feel like need to be responded to. You'll just never get there. My Instagram request inbox is so full. It's incredible. To answer that question, it is incredibly overwhelming. As far as the second part of that question, how do you handle that level? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain level, I imagine, once you start getting that amount of communication, that it starts to become almost like a soft focus type view on what's coming in versus the hard focus of line by line comment. Is that something that's happened for you, or?
That's exactly right.
That when my email gets overwhelming, I start to be like, okay, soft focus, what's important?
It is exactly like a very busy email. It is exactly, yeah, but every once in a while you'll get a comment that just hits your heart so deeply. There's been a couple of times where someone, just the way they worded something was enough to me to be like, I'm going to send them a personalized message that's like, hey, thank you, because that stuff means so much. And I think that's another thing I'd like to tell everyone out there. Something that I started doing a couple of years ago is that I would reach out to my favorite artists, no matter how big they were. I reached out to Matthew Shaning, I reached out to Jacob Collier, these people, just to say, hey, I'm such a huge fan and you're wonderful, knowing that they might not ever see it. One of those, Matthew Shaning, who's the one who inspired me as a solo electric cellist, who does live looping, is the one who got me interested in that. And he was the very first person that I reached out to, just to be like, he'll never get back to me. And I sent him a message, and it was a long one. Normally they're just like, oh, you're so wonderful, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for all your work. But for this one, I was like, hey, you're really amazing, and you've changed my entire life. I've listened to everything, and you basically taught me how to do live looping. I've listened to your stuff over and over. And he messaged back like 10 minutes later telling me that he was about to like throw away the record he had been working on. And he just needed anyone to reach out and be like, keep going. And I have realized that there have been those people, these people who might not even have profile pictures. I don't even know who they are or where they're from. But when I get into those spots where I'm like, I don't know, is this even the right thing to do? Am I doing the right thing? Someone will reach out and be like, hey, drink some water, keep going. And I'm like, thank you, random person, which I think is just such a beautiful thing. And it's people, I think, as audiences, don't know how much power they really have, especially in this day and age. So if there's someone out there, no matter how big or small they are, and you feel like they might need if you just want to reach, if they've meant something to you, you should tell them, even if you're certain they'll never see it, because there is a chance that they will.
I love that. Well, let's jump over and actually watch My Mother Told Me and talk a little bit about the international collaborations that you've jumped on recently as well.
Fun.
My mother told me someday I would buy galleys with good oars and sails to distant shores. Stand up high in the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course for the havens, too many foemen. My mother told me someday I would buy galleys with good oars and sails to distant shores. Stand up high in the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course for the havens, too many foemen, too many foemen.
So tell us a little bit about that one and how that came to be. Oh,
that, or I muted so it wouldn't do any
There you
echo
go.
on there. That was an interesting experience. That was a making that video had a beginning, middle, and end. I woke up, I think it was like a Tuesday, and my TikTok at that time was in the lull again. And I had gotten to a place where I was pretty comfortable with that. I was like, yeah, I'm just having fun. I think I also had a bunch of stuff going at the time. And I had, oh yeah, that's right. I had some pretty big projects that I needed to get done. Well, I got tagged in this video by Johnny Stewart, and he was singing with this wonderful Scottish singer named Natty Dread. Was the woman in that video. And he tagged me in it, and he said, Cullen Vance, at Cullen Vance Music, feel free to do your thing on this if you'd like. And I was like, I don't have time. Like, I'm like, there's so many things I have to do. But my gut was like, oh, but I know what chords. I know exactly which. I know exactly. Which is like a new. It's not new. It's like a new principle, a new rule that I have given myself. Which is, if I hear a TikTok and I immediately start writing the bass line, like as I'm listening to it, and I go, here it is, here it is, here it is, and this is what I do, and this is what I'm gonna do it. I'm going for it. And that was exactly what this was. I heard the final full orchestrated version so perfectly in my head. So I started I think I started writing that music at like 11 a.m. Finished the music like 2 hours later and recorded everything, and then did all the video stuff in another 2 hours and posted it. It was a ridiculous turnaround, but it was just so perfectly formed. And then the views went through the roof, and Natty Dread, the original singer who had kind of started that thing, reached out to me and was like, whoa, hey, that was amazing. And Johnny reached out to me like, whoa, cool, we have to do this again. And so that has sparked some conversation, and this is public now, that we've been working together, and we are releasing a full version of that song for Spotify and for everything. I can't tell you when yet. There's still a lot of secrets around it, but I can tell you that it is happening.
So that is a international collaboration, an artist collaborator you met through TikTok, through this like happenstance tag. So tell me a little bit more about these international collaborations, because you've worked with quite a few different people from around the globe. So how do those is that usually the story? Is somebody just a random tag, you tag kind of thing, or how do those happen? And yes, tell us a little bit more of some of that success you've seen from them.
Oh my God. Well, TikTok is just such an exciting place because it is like the Wild West as far like, because it's so like, it's not new, but it's gotten so much popularity. Really. Oh, thank you, Victoria. Because it's gotten so much attention lately. It's still in the early days of YouTube, the whole remix culture, all of that stuff. There was lots of free game as far as what you could do, what you could get away with. So TikTok is still in that magical realm that I love, where someone will start something, someone will beatbox, or someone will sing, or someone's dog. This happened a couple of weeks ago. Someone's dog go, arr, and then you'll have some incredibly talented person like Melinda, based out of New York City, go, arr, and harmonize with it. And then someone does a guitar line, and then someone does a bass line, and then someone adds maracas, and someone does a modern dance piece to the arr, and you've got this living organism, a conversation, like a real-time collaboration with anyone, everyone, all at the same time. It is so unbelievably, it's such an exciting place. And it has pushed me in my artistry, because I'll be scrolling through and see someone do play only harmonics on a violin, like do a whole line like that, and go, I never thought of it, and I have to go and try it immediately. Or someone will say, hey, what would a slip jig, or in Irish music, if it's 6/8, what would it be like in 5/4? And I go, well, I don't know. And then you go and you do it. So it's like this international a human conversation about all art forms at once, and philosophy and politics. It all comes into it. It's so exciting. So in that one collaboration, Natty's based in Scotland. Johnny is in London. And then me over here in Oregon. And then it was also passed around to people from all over the world. On Asia, there's someone who sang it gave me absolute chills. But sang in a Carnatic style from India on top of all of that, it just, it give. Sorry, I'm very, very excited, as you can tell. And I don't know how else to explain it except that it is just the Wild West of music. So what have I learned along the way? So much. I mean, a lot of the same improv principles that I teach in my classes and that I learned back in the day in college, of just saying yes and that is what is so beautiful about this new frontier. Is there's literally millions of people, some of the most talented people on the planet, are ready to say yes and you never know what's going to happen when you put something like that out there. And if enough people are really excited, then you might find yourself on iTunes doing a full version. Yeah.
I love it. Well, that's so exciting to hear. I want to just go ahead and share this little comment from Jenny. Sounds like somebody you went to college with. Love to hear the music behind the, love to hear the mind behind the music. Can't believe I sat next to that amazing mind in college. Make me stop scrolling and crank up the music. So thanks for tuning in, Jenny.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny.
Well, I want to jump into like the real deep core of the inspiration of your music, which is the Celtic tradition, right? So tell us a little bit more about what draws you to the Celtic music. We heard a little bit about kind of the ancestry there, but why do you think it still also, after you talk about why you connect to it, why do you think it still connects also across the globe still today?
Whew. Well, I mean, that is I could write multiple thesis papers on this subject.
This is your doctorate application, so.
I knew I wore the button up for a reason. Well, let's just talk about on a personal basis, and then some of my theories about it, I guess. Because it's becoming clearer every day with more and more comments that come in. I get to kind of dive into this audience and see what it is that's resonating with them. But what's resonating with me is this same thing that we've been talking about pretty much from the beginning of this talk, this idea of connection. And this idea of feeling connected and wanting to be seen and wanting to be heard. I realized right before we went into quarantine that I had a deep desire to feel connected to the earth. I just wanted to feel connected physically to this space. And it was about the same time that I was getting really into Irish mythology. And I kept asking myself, I'm like, I've been listening to Irish music my whole life. I was obsessed with the Braveheart soundtrack, which is, I mean, Scottish, but it's like that Celtic roots. You know, my mom and my dad played Enya on loop when I was real young. And that is, some of those songs are in Irish. So I've been exposed to that Irish language since infancy, really. And so it's that tonality is a huge part of what I do. And it was about around St. Patrick's Day that Ancestry.com had a sale. So I did the whole DNA test thing, and we got the results back, and being able to like look at the proof, even though it doesn't mean too much, right? But it helps to know the proof of like, look, yes, there is Ireland in me. And that connection to not just like the earth as far as like where I come from, but also the line of people behind me. Oh, and by the way, it's my father's birthday. I don't know if he's here. Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday.
I would throw that out there, talking about ancestors and the people behind me. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, Dad. And so being able to dive into that and to own it, which I think is kind of brings me to the next idea. And this is something I'm still playing with, and I don't have all of it kind of perfectly figured out. But from what I can tell, there's this, with people, an entire generation growing up with the idea that the Lord of the Rings have just always been movies. They've just always existed. That soundtrack has always been there, which has a lot to do with Celtic tradition. As well as you have amazing scores like the Braveheart soundtrack with James Horner. You have John Powell doing How to Train Your Dragon series, which is unbelievable. That is the Norse side, but of course that's all connected with the Celtic stuff as well. So you have people growing up being exposed more to this stuff, and they can feel it in their bones that this resonates with me, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think what it is that America, if is a story, it's the melting pot, it's the whole thing, right? And there is a huge portion of America, especially if you think about, there are technically more Irish people in America than there are in Ireland. Technically, right? Or Irish
Yeah.
descendant. So, there's people growing up where, they have the American culture, which has its things. We've got, the Super Bowl, we've got 4th of July, we got, hot dogs on the grill and things like that. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And there's something older than 1776, way older, that is a rich tradition of sounds, of tonality, of modal harmonies that is our inheritance. Like, we get to own it. And so what I'm hoping is, and my kind of secret goal with this stuff is, if I can use these Irish techniques and Celtic techniques to Irishize Britney Spears or whatever it might be, then it might be the gateway to people to doing more research, to learning that it's not just Gaelic, it's Irish, because there's Scottish Gaelic and there's a difference, and they go, oh, wait, which one am I? There is a difference. Tons of Americans don't think there's a difference between Ireland and Scotland. And then diving in that there is, wait a second, I know about Greek mythology, I know about Egyptian mythology, there's Irish mythology, there's Fionn McCool, there's Cullen, there's the Tuatha Dé Danann, there's all of this stuff, this rich history that's just sitting there waiting to be inherited. And I think the final part of this puzzle piece, which I think is the most beautiful thing, is that if we can get the Irish Americans, which is a term that I hold so dearly, this term of Irish American, to claim their inheritance, then knowing that history, knowing that culture, knowing that context will allow them to have empathy for the other cultures who are trying to have their thing. You think about Native Americans, you think about who have had their culture stripped away, and they're fighting to keep it. We can claim our thing, then we can really not just know that we need to help them, we will feel it in our bones that is what it means for them. And we need to do what we can do, whether it's, volunteering or however we can do it. So yeah. All that stuff, culture and history, to build and encourage compassion and empathy for everyone around the world.
Small order, right?
Small order. And I'm doing it one Rick Astley cover at a time.
I really love how you're talking about culture here as something that we can claim within our ancestry, right? And I think that's something too that sometimes gets really hard for white individuals, especially in America, because their legacy of white identity in America is the American original sin, right? Of the incredible oppression of Native and Indigenous community members, as well as the Black community members, African community members, whose ancestors were forced to this land. And to think about how we can hone into our ancestry and take pride in the origin where we came from, and let that be something that is a point of pride, rather than this potential really concerning and problematic point of pride that can come from just white identity, because it's not white identity. We actually have deeper roots, all of us, in different ways, and some it's known, and for others it's not. And how can we explore that in a ethical way, and in a way that is responsible and cognizant of our community members, right?
Yeah.
And we're saying there that, to be able to build that empathy for others who are advocating for their culture to be recognized, I think that's really, really, really fantastic. So lots of props coming in the comment section. Close on time, but I do want to bring in one more question that Laura shared, which is, do you ever look at how people use your music on their own TikToks?
I do. TikTok has a really great function where if someone's made a sound, then you can use their sound as the soundtrack of your thing. Either you can talk with it. It's just a quiet background stuff, where they can actually choreograph dances to it or something like that. It also makes it kind of hard to see all of them, but I do go digging every once in a while just to see, because it's just so cool. I've seen people who have animated, they've done like storyboards, Fireflies in particular. Someone did a whole storyboard of a sequence that could be done to it. There's people that have created characters, for cosplay kind of situation. People have illustrated, and of course, people have sung. So many wonderful singers on there, and people have harmonized and done their own thing. What I love is that there's also a small community building on TikTok that I think is being called Whistle Talk, where, because there's just like me, there's people who are surrounded by Irish whistles and tin whistles, penny whistles, and we're starting to kind of build a small community on there where it's like, hey, I learned this new trick, check it out, and then we all get to share in that new discovery. It's the most niche thing, but the people are out there. Yeah,
I love it. Well, thanks so much. And then I'm going to bring one more other question up from Tara. Another one from Tara, which is, how do you feel part tank to continue fueling your creativity, especially as you create so much? And what energizes and inspires you?
Well, I am the type of person, there's multiple things here. I'm the type of person that will go until I am running on fumes and then completely crash, which I don't recommend, and I'm getting better at it. I think what fuels my creativity in a weird way is I feel like I'm on I've had a lot built up. I've spent, from when I was 18 to now, I'm almost about to turn 30. So in the last 12 years, is that right? Math. I basically, in a weird way, tried to do anything but make music. I was making music the entire time, but I tried to define myself as an animator. I tried to be a game designer. I tried to be an improver. I tried all kinds of different things. I even tried to start an online school for anyway, it was all that kind of stuff. And during quarantine, it kind of forced me to go like, okay, what is it that I want to do? What is it that if the grown-ups left the room, what would I do if they don't? And the answer is this: make music, make funny music, make sweet, way too saturated, kind of corny, cheesy, happy tunes, big cinematic stuff. And so I feel like it's actually everything I've been doing this last year has just been because I fought it for so long that now that I'm like, all right, let go, let's do it. Now it's just streaming out of me at full force. I don't think it's going to last. I think at some point I will go, okay. And then I'll space things out a little bit more and do it a little bit more presently. But for right now, I am so jazzed and so excited that it is just rushing out.
And all of us, the entire globe, are so fortunate to be recipients of that too. So,
oh, you're so nice. Thank you, Eric.
You give so openly as an artist. It's something that I've learned from you as a friend and as a fellow artist with you, is how much you give so openly, and that improv mindset really comes into everything that you do. I completely see that, and I can see how that serves in this TikTok setting. But you're such a gift to our community, and you're such a gift to everyone who's collaborating with you across the globe. Thank you for your big heart and your creative spirit and all the things that you carry with you into your artistry. It's such a
Thank you, Eric, and thank you for this wonderful interview. And it was so good to hear you kind of respond to these different points, especially about culture. I would love to continue that conversation with you.
Always down. Well, Cullen, can you pick one of your TikToks to close us out on that I can pull?
What's a good one? Is there one that comes out to you? I think let's do the Believer one. It's nice and short. It's like 13 seconds, I think.
Well, do you want to do any final plugs while I get this ready?
Yeah, I want to say hi to Tara. And hi to Mia. I'll just say hi to everyone. And my grandma's on here, Carol. So thank you, everyone. I just want to say thank you to I know that's not what a plug is, but I'm taking this opportunity to just be grateful. I do have some stuff coming out. If you are on TikTok, follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Cullen Vance Music, as well as you can find all this stuff on cullenvancecreative.com. And if you can follow me on Spotify, that would actually be one of the most helpful things. Just search Cullen Vance in Google, it'll come up, or whatever, if you use Apple Music or anything like that. I do have some very exciting things. We didn't get to talk about the artist grant or the interactive album. There is very exciting things on the horizon. Huge potentially international things on the horizon. So stay tuned. I wish I could give some more hints than that, but that's all I got.
That's good. It keeps us on the edge of our seat and hungry for more. So thank you so much, Cullen. We can't wait to hear all the amazing things that are up in the future for you. And we will see you again very soon. Make sure you all follow all those things. And we will be back again next week with the live stream happy hour with more wonderful artist features. So we'll close out on this wonderful song from Cullen and some collaborators.